Hello. So, welcome to our last week of looking at the book of Daniel together. And this is quite a difficult week. Let's be honest, we're looking at all of Daniel chapter 11 and all of Daniel chapter 12. So, why don't you go ahead and hit pause, go and read it, brace yourselves. It's a difficult read, but please do read it. Everything written in the Bible is there for a purpose. So, have a read and come back and I'll share you some of my thoughts. So I'm assuming you've gone ahead and read chapters 11 and 12. Remember, this is not some deep theological teaching. This is just the thoughts of me, the pastor of Riverside, where I'm at today. I am not a qualified theologian, and for hundreds of years, people have been reading these chapters, and people have been coming up with timelines on what this vision means and what it refers to. And many of these theologians disagree on many of these points and many of these dates. One thing is clear about these chapters. These chapters refer to a time that comes after Daniel. Some of the events in these chapters have already come to pass, and some of the events in these chapters have not yet come to pass. And all theologians would agree on that point. Some have attempted to ascribe certain leaders and kings in history to some of the kings mentioned here. There is some agreement and some disagreement between theologians on which king is which. But these verses do seem to refer to the fall of Babylon, the rise of Xerxes, and the rise of Alexander the Great, who contributes to the fall of Babylon. Many believe these verses in chapter 11 talk of a conflict that's to come between Palestine in roughly 300 BC and 200 BC. That sometimes some people think that chapter 11 talks about the persecution of Israel under Antiochus IV, which has already been referred to a couple of times. And there's a very consistent view that particularly from chapter 11, verse 40 onwards, that these verses refer to the appearance of the Antichrist. Now, I'm not going to personally claim that I understand all of the detail of these chapters, but I'm here to try and share some encouragements that stood out to me. So as opposed to me trying to tell you which king is what and all of that, I'm going to just share with you some bits that I found encouraging in the midst of this very difficult vision. Chapter 11, verses 32 to 35. No matter what persecution God's people will face, wise believers, wise people, wise Christians, wise people of faith will still speak up in strength, in the strength of the Lord, and they will use the word of the Lord and the wisdom of the Lord, and they will declare the word of the Lord. And the challenge is, will we be such a people who will continue to do that no matter what the world looks like? A people who, regardless of the actions of the world, will cling to the truth of God, teach the truth of God, proclaim the word of God, regardless of what the world says. And yes, in that time there will be persecution, but our faith in God can be stronger than our fear of persecution. I feel encouraged that God knows a tough time can and will come for believers, but still God's people, and God knows this, can and will hold firm to the truth, declare the truth, and proclaim the truth. This causes my faith to grow, even in the midst of news of persecution. And I can see in these verses that our faith and strength can and will grow, even in persecution, if we hold on to Him. What else do I draw encouragement from? Chapter 12, verse 1. No matter who rises against God, the names of people written in the book of life will have their salvation in God, no matter what the things of this world looks like and no matter what people say. No matter what happens now and in the future, my name, your name, our name is written in that book, and the enemy cannot change that. And that is why the hope we have in God is got to be stronger than anything that we face here. Chapter 12, verse 4. Daniel is asked to preserve this word. Why? Because not only do believers need to know that times of struggle are coming, but believers need to know that there is hope in the midst of trouble. That God has known about this trouble to come for a long time, and that his hope outlives any and all trouble we might face. I find that great comfort. Chapter 12, verse 12. Blessed are those who keep holding on to God, no matter what happens. No matter what happens, when we hold on to our faith in God, even in these end time events, God's people who hold true will know the inward joy and strength that comes from their faith and relationship with God. These verses encourage me that holding on to my faith, no matter what the world looks like, will not only get me through, but can be a source of inner happiness for my soul when everything around me seems to be crumbling. How willing are we to cling on to our faith and our relationship with God regardless? I don't like a lot of the images in these two chapters. They stir conflicted feelings within me, but I know that God wins. I know that not only is my faith real, but my faith will be the boat and anchor for my soul in times of difficulty and struggle and persecution. And no matter what this world looks like, God will not abandon me. So will I hold on to him always? And no matter what happens next, will we be a people that holds on to him always?